Hey, how's it going? This might be a bit of a crazy idea. Bright sunlight outdoors. But anyway, I'm coming to terms with the kind of content creator I am, so I'm making this video that has been blocking me literally for about 2 months. It's basically about Lisa Miller, PhD. She was a guest on the Rich Roll podcast a few months ago, and she talked about spirituality and depression in young people, and it absolutely blew my mind. So as I was listening to it, I was thinking of all sorts of ideas of how I wanted to get this information out to my kids primarily. My son is 16, my daughter's 18, and you know, they're quite mentally healthy in a lot of ways, but not in other ways. And I wanted to share this information with them. When I watched the video, it blew me away, as I said. I then went on to read Lisa's book, which is called The Awakened Brain. And again, it was jam-packed with stuff that really resonated hard with me as a recovering alcoholic who found recovery through the tenets of Alcoholics Anonymous, which, if you don't know, is really a very spiritual program. Step 11 of the 12 steps is that we sought to improve our conscious contact with God. So, you know, this is something that has helped me a great deal to find sobriety, but depression has also been a big part of my life since I was in my early 20s. Early to mid 20s was the first time it kicked off, really. As is autism. I have Asperger's. So there's all sorts of stuff going on with my own mental health, and spirituality has helped me a great deal. So when I was listening to Lisa's video, I thought to myself, right, I'm going to have to make a video about this. My kids are not going to watch the podcast episode with Lisa and Rich. They're not going to read her book, much as I would love them to. So I thought if I were able to share some of my takeaways from it, maybe they would watch my video. Unlikely, I know, but you never know. So that's what this is an attempt to do. But when I started planning it, I hit a bit of a block. You know, it became kind of somewhat ironically a bit of a mental health issue for me. And as I was writing my morning pages this morning, I found myself writing again, why am I not doing this video that I really want to do? Because it is something I want to do. My motivation for it is strong. I want to help my family. And I know that there are other people out there, either young people themselves or parents of young people, who would really benefit from this information. And it's something that I enjoy doing. I love making videos, you might have noticed if you've been watching my channel for any length of time. So I started scripting it. I went through the video, clipped it. So I've got loads of clips which I'm hopefully going to insert at various points through this monologue, so that you can get an idea of exactly what Lisa's talking about from Lisa herself, because it's so powerful. But when I started planning it, I started to feel anxiety, a bit like I did when I was at uni, which was the first time I was diagnosed with depression. And I'm sure that diagnosis came on the back of anxiety through having to write essays and through having to deliver presentations on Russian literature. So it started to feel a bit like that, and I couldn't understand why, when this is something that I really want to do, something I'm really interested in, I'll use the word passionate about, why am I not getting to make this video? What's holding me back? So I did all the hard work, I did the preparation, I went through the video, made notes, clipped the video, started writing a script, and then every day in my Notion planner I just kept moving that to the next day, the next day, the next day, and didn't actually make the video. So as I was writing today, I found myself thinking, what kind of content creator am I? Am I the kind of content creator who writes scripts and plans videos meticulously. No, that's not me. I tend to, as you probably have noticed, switch on the camera and talk to it, and whatever is in the video is in the video. So as I was writing it, it became clear this morning that that's what's been holding me back. What I should do is just switch on the camera and talk into it and see what comes out, and hopefully it will be something helpful. So to get to Lisa's ideas, she talked of how spirituality, first of all, is not the same thing as religion. This is a massive thing. A lot of people who come into AA, whenever they see the word God mentioned, as it is numerous times in the 12 steps, not just in the steps, of course, but in the book as well, they find it a bit of a turn off, and I can relate to that because I'm not a religious person at all. I won't get into that. I don't need to get into that.
Spirituality and religion are two different things. For 2/3 of people in the United States, they go closely hand in hand. So 2/3 of people in the US will say, I am spiritual and I am religious, my deep spirituality, by which usually is meant this thread of lived spirituality identified in the awakened brain, my seat of transcendent awareness, my capacity to be in a deep dynamic relationship with the deeper presence or spirit in life. That is held in my faith tradition, the prayers, the ceremonies, my community, the rituals. 30% of millennials, and fewer with each older generation, say I am spiritual, but I am not religious. For me, I experience spirituality in nature, art, my family. So religion is, through the lens of science, has been shown to be transmitted entirely environmentally. It is a gift of our ancestors. It is shared by community. But spirituality, as I'm discussing it in the awakened brain, our innate capacity for transcendent awareness, and that might be shared, that is hardwired. It is not merely a gift of our environment. So spirituality is innate, and the environment alone transmits religion.
I am spiritual, and that means that I have a belief that I am not in control, that there is something greater than me, something of which I am a part, and I can choose to call that whatever I want, which is where the saying in AA comes from when we talk of the higher power. And that higher power can take any form that helps you. So that's important to take away, that we might be talking about God. In fact, you can choose to call it God, that's what I'm saying. But you can choose to call it something else. I think ultimately everyone has their own belief, or in fact lack of belief. Agnostics and atheists. One doesn't know what they believe, the other doesn't believe. So, I don't know, make of that what you will, come to your own conclusions. Lisa posits that the problem that the scientific community has had up until now is that there has been no scientific way of proving that spirituality can help with mental health issues. That's changing now with the help of fMRI scans, which they have done in tested conditions, to check the effects of spirituality on mental health and on the brain. And it was absolutely mind-blowing, the kinds of statistics that Lisa was sharing that proved how having a spiritual awareness, a belief, practicing spirituality, how these things can really help to mitigate the effects of depression, and perhaps in some cases even eradicate it completely or prevent it from ever happening in the first place.
The bad gift that science as a profession gave our larger society was a false split between spirituality and science. And that is indeed a very false split. It turns out that science is a method. It's a lens. Whether you're talking about genotyping or MRI studies or long-term clinical course studies, science is a form of observance. And we can point that lens at just about any question. And the host of questions are broad. We can ask questions that are compelling and new, or we can repeat the same questions we've asked 100 times before. The questions we ask live within the imagination of the scientist. So the limitations that science faced on turning our lens to ask questions of spirituality in the human life were limitations of the culture, the climate, the vogue in which scientists were immersed. They were not limitations of the scientific method.
And I'm learning this to be true myself through practicing good habits, through meditation, through exercise, through working on my diet, through writing every day. I do morning pages, which I learned to do through The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, where you sit down and you write every morning 3 pages of whatever comes into your mind as a means of dumping stuff out of the brain, and unlocking creativity, which is, what this is kind of about for me, is because I was blocked making this video. And as I sat this morning writing for the umpteenth time, I came to the conclusion that I'm not a scripting guy. And so trying to make myself into that was preventing me from making this video at all. So I seem to have finally realised that that's what was holding me back, and here I am sitting here on this beautiful day talking to you about my takeaways from Lisa's content. Now, Rich Roll himself is a huge influence on me. I've been listening to many of his podcast episodes, and most of them resonate on some level. I've already shared a couple of takeaways from different guests that he's had on the show, but none of them so far have resonated quite as much as Lisa Miller's content. So I would urge you, if you do have any depression in your family, if you have young people who are school age or making that awkward transition into adolescence and through into adulthood, take a look at the book, or at the very least listen to the podcast episode. It's available on YouTube. It's also available as an audio podcast. Listen to the interview. It's about an hour and a half, I think, something like that. And listen to what Lisa has to say. I mean, obviously I will have shared some of it here with you throughout this monologue. I will have dropped clips in. I deliberately didn't bring out notes because I thought that would distract me from talking straight into the camera and letting you know my thoughts. So there are a lot of things I could have gone into, but hopefully I will have shared some parts of that throughout this that you will have got something from, and that will have given you a teaser into Lisa's world and how she has started helping people through proving to the scientific world that spirituality is measurable and helpful. So hopefully this will help you out. Check out the content. Thanks for watching mine, and let me know how you're doing. Drop a comment below and let me know if you found this helpful. I would like to know, because it helps me to know what's useful for you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye for now.